You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I am Naren Raja, one of the co-hosts of this podcast. We are here to help you untangle the mess that is insurance, how to better work with insurance companies, perhaps even how to, drop them, the worst ones, so you can create more profits and, do the type of dentistry you want. So welcome to the Insurance Untangled podcast. And today I have my guest, Ben Tune, with me. And the topic we'll be discussing is why are umbrella networks, network affiliations among PPOs on the rise? Why are umbrella network affiliations among PPOs on the rise? So Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Naren. It's great chatting with you again.
I know we may have touched on it before, but just to kind of refresh the memory of our listeners, can you explain what an umbrella network is? And can you also cover all the names that umbrella networks might go by?
Yeah, so an umbrella network is basically either a PPO plan that leases their network out to an independent insurance company, right? And that independent insurance company, if you are in network with the main leasing company, let's call this leasing company Aetna. Let's say you're in network with Aetna. Aetna will sell or lease their network to Guardian. So by being in network with Aetna, you're also very much likely going to be in network with Guardian through the Aetna contract. And that's if you don't have a contract with Guardian directly. So I've traditionally been calling them umbrella networks since 2007. But there are different names that they go by. They're called network stacking. They're called rental networks, leasing networks. I think those are the most common names that they go by. But in a roundabout way, when you hear umbrella network, it's the same thing as a lease network, basically. That example with Aetna and Guardian, there are so many of those examples in terms of insurance companies getting together and joining forces on a leasing arrangement. But that's sort of what they are, is a network that sells your in-network status to another network that could list you as in-network as well.
Thank you, Ben. Almost every month this year, dentists have been getting notices about PPO plans engaging in leasing agreements with each other. In other words, more and more PPOs are engaging in umbrella network relationships. Why is this suddenly happening more than ever before?
Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do another episode on umbrella networks, is mainly because almost every single day I get notices emailed to me from clients and non-clients, and they're all the same notices. Like, for instance, I just got one between Humana and DHA, which also goes by the name Dental Health Alliance, Assurance, or Sun Life. It's all the same company. So DHA and Humana decided to join forces, and they decided to lease each other's networks, which means that you could be in network with Humana and be in network with DHA at the same time under the Humana agreement, and vice versa. So what that does, Naren, is for doctors that, let's say I want to drop Humana, but I'm in network with DHA still. So when you drop Humana sort of makes these relationships with DHA, knowing full well that, yeah, you can drop your Humana contract, but Humana is going to renew you under DHA now, right? So it's sort of it's sort of a way for Humana to have a string attached to you, so that you terminate with them directly, like, nice try. We're still going to latch on to you through another network to keep you in network, to keep your reimbursements at a lower level compared to out of network. So in essence, the reason why this is happening is mainly because a lot of doctors are dropping PPO networks. Over the last 4 years, there's not ever been this type of termination activity in the history of dentistry in terms of the rate and the number of doctors that are just going out of network across the board. So the insurance industry is reacting in a way to find a way to keep you in network without you really knowing, what your options are. So that's why they sign, like Humana signed an agreement with DHA is for that purpose, so that Humana can still keep you in network one way or another.
Right. So you're saying when you are with an umbrella plan, then you are automatically getting added to all these other, if they have 30 insurance companies they work with, then you are now part of all 30 insurance companies.
Yeah.
And they control your fees.
Yes, there's a possibility that there's a possibility that all 30 could approve you. The 30, they still would have to individually approve you through the umbrella network, and some of them don't. But what I'll say is the majority of them will, because especially the Humanas of the world, if you're already out of network with Humana, they have no incentive to decline you through an umbrella network, especially if that umbrella network fee schedule is lower than your office fees. Almost always, these insurance companies are going to opt to approve you, mainly because it represents savings for them, but it also represents the ability to sell dental plans to employers, because the more in-network providers you have, the stronger case it is for an insurance company to pick a certain PPO network for dental benefits, right? So with that said, you could sign one contract, as you mentioned, Naren, and it could include 30 or more PPO plans underneath that one contract.
Right. So be really, really wary of umbrella networks. That's the message I'm getting. Will Delta ever lease their network to other PPOs?
Yes, it's already started. In fact, I'm not going to name which Delta just for the sake of giving me a month off of the threat of lawsuits from them. But Delta, I did read a contract in a Midwestern state where they do have umbrella network language in there, which basically says that, Delta holds the right to lease their network out to other insurance carriers. And so by signing on as a PPO provider or an in-network provider with Delta, you agree to those terms. Almost every PPO plan has that contract language, and not all states, not all Deltas have that language yet. But the logical path for Delta Dental, mainly because I've already seen this umbrella network language in some states, Naren, the logical path for Delta is to include those umbrella network those umbrella network clauses in every contract that they have. Because if you really think about it, a lot of doctors are dropping Delta, yes, but a lot of doctors, even more, are dropping other dental networks. And so that's an opportunity for Delta Dental. If a lot of doctors are dropping all networks and they're only keeping Delta, which historically has been a very popular thing, where you run into practices that are out of network with everybody, but just in network with Delta. Well, that gives Delta the ability to sell or lease their network to other PPO plans to earn revenue, right? They'll lease it to Aetna, to United Concordia, to MetLife, which means that, under the Delta agreement, you could be in network with MetLife under the same PPO fee schedule, right? Those are things you have to pay attention to as a practice owner, because they are going to come down. I guarantee you these announcements about Delta entering into a partnership with another network very likely will start to happen over the next 2-3 years. And when that happens, make sure you understand what your rights are, which these days you can opt out, right? You can opt out of the relationships like the DHA and Humana example. You can opt out of that relationship, right? So you want to know your rights and want to know if that's something that is within your contract for you to opt out. You have to opt out
of the entire network, right? The entire umbrella network, not just that one.
It's different per PPO. Like some umbrella networks only allow you to opt out with 3 PPO plans under their network. Other umbrella networks only allow you to opt out with a certain set of PPO plans where you cannot opt out of others. But you need to know that going into these relationships especially if it's Delta, you need to know exactly what the contract terms are, because like if it's Dentamax, you can't opt out of United Healthcare. So in order for you to drop United Healthcare, you have to drop Dentamax, right? So that is a very important thing to pay attention to as you get these notices, is what are my options to either opt out or terminate?
Thank you. How many major umbrella networks exist, and can you list some of them by name?
Yeah, there's many. So when you talk about mostly networks that are not necessarily PPO plans that pay a benefit, and this may sound confusing to some of you, but you've heard of the company called Zealous. Zealous was originally a payment processing company, and they acquired the Mavris network. So on EOBs, it doesn't say Zealous, it says Mavris. The only time you see Zealous in the practice, if you're not credentialed with Zealous, is when you get those virtual credit card checks. But that's those virtual payments, the relationship that Zealous would have to pay claims for Cigna or Anthem is 100% different than the relationship that Zealous has on the networking side of things. They're not related to each other. So Zealous, Zealous is one of the major ones. You have Dentamax, which is an older umbrella network. Then you have Connection Dental, you have Carrington, and then in some states you have Dental Network of America, or you have the Premier Dental Network in Florida or Missouri. You have localized networks in Nevada or Nevada, depending on how you pronounce that. That Diversified is the network for Nevada/Nevada. So those are some of the key names. But when you look at it on an individual PPO basis, like you have Aetna, as we mentioned, Aetna includes Emeritus, Principal, part of United Concordia, and part of Guardian, right? Emeritus includes Principal and part of United Concordia. So when you go down the list of PPOs, Naren, what you'll find is that the vast majority of them lease their network out on a smaller scale. But the major umbrella networks, your Zealous plans, which goes by Mavris, Connection Dental, Dentamax, Carrington, those are the major networks that lease out to 30 plus PPO networks, right? So you need to know the difference. Major umbrella network or minor umbrella network and how it impacts your practice on an individual basis. It could be confusing. That's why I always recommend having a professional help you sort out how these umbrella networks are impacting you and what your options are for the future on cleaning up some of those relationships.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of summarize my understanding of why this is happening, and then you can add in the blanks. So first is, if I'm a PPO company or insurance company, when I go to employers, I want to be able to say, in your area, we have a ton of people who are part of our network. The way to do that is get them to sign up directly, but people are quitting PPO plans, so that's not working. So I just sign up with umbrella networks. And now it's a numbers game. I'm part of 7 umbrella networks. Let's say I'm XYZ insurance company. Now, all of a sudden, every time somebody signs up with one of those 7, I get a new patient. And then I can go back to the employer and say, look, in your town, I have 70% of the people signed up. Of course, they don't care whether you sign up directly or through a PPO plan. So that's the reason they're doing it. Partly to combat all these doctors leaving, and partly at a low cost, they're able to tell the employer they have a lot of people already on the network. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. You hit the nail on the head, Naren, with those 2 angles.
Okay.
Provider network strength, and then the ability to sell, being attractive to the employers from the perspective of, hey, I have a lot of in-network providers for you to choose from. Right. So yeah, you got it perfectly.
Now, if you are a patient, this is bad news. Probably it's paying even less than what a regular PPO plan pays, correct? These umbrella networks.
Good question. As a patient, it's not entirely bad news. What it means that if your doctor is credentialed with your dental plan through an umbrella network, what that means for you as a patient is that your out-of-pocket is likely going to be slightly more compared to seeing a practice that's directly in network with that umbrella network. So from a financial perspective, when you look at it on the surface, from a financial perspective, yes, you're paying more. But my counter argument is, if the doctors are going to be taking low fees as a result of direct contracting with a certain PPO network, you got to ask yourself whether that's going to be healthy for the dentist, right?
So wait a minute. So is umbrella networks better for the doctor, or regular PPO plans better for the doctor? Same insurance company. Should I go through an umbrella? Or should I go direct?
It depends. What I was going to mention in my scenario here is that if I was credentialed directly with a PPO plan as a doctor, and that fee schedule was lower than the umbrella network fee schedule that I could have, naturally, that's for the doctor, that's not a great way to be credentialed under the direct contract. I want to cancel that, and I want to migrate that contract to the umbrella fee schedule that's higher, right? So while the patient would be paying less under the direct contract scenario, it does put a burden on the doctor in the sense that the doctor is getting a lesser reimbursement compared to the umbrella network fees that are higher.
So you're saying it depends. You don't know. But the bottom line is, if you are a practice owner, like most people who are resigning, don't go down this road because you're now getting, roped in, through the back door. Even though you exited through the front door, they just somehow bring you back in through the back door without even realizing it.
Yeah. Every practice situation is different. It depends on the mix of PPO plans that you're on whether using an umbrella network or an umbrella network strategy would be helpful. For some practices, direct contracts are the better way to go, right? But you need a proper assessment to look at your specific list of in-network plans to see how umbrella network situations could be helpful or harmful for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question. What resources do you have for listeners who are interested in learning more about this topic?
Yes. So because of these rapid changes in the industry, we are writing articles. We're actually going to be cutting more specific videos. And you can check out veritasdentalresources.com. We're going to be publishing these videos starting in July of 2024, which I believe this episode is perfect. It's going to come out in July, mainly because there are more umbrella network announcements that have not been made. And every practice needs to know what your rights are. When you read the letters from the insurance companies, it doesn't really tell you how these announcements are going to impact you. What I typically do when I get an announcement from a doctor is I compare fees. And I look at the contract just to see, okay, which route do we want to go between the two networks that are now joining forces? Do we want to keep both as is? And most of the time, the answer to that is going to be yes. But in situations where you're out of network with one and in network with the other, you have to ask yourself, is it going to be beneficial to be in network with that plan under this leasing arrangement or not, right? So we measure the numbers, the utilization numbers against the fees to see if joining a PPO plan that you're out of network with through an umbrella network is going to hurt you financially or if it's going to help you. So that's my recommendation is check out our educational videos on veritasdentalresources.com. And we are going to be going through every insurance plan specifically in specific videos, dedicated videos per each of those PPO plans to break down each umbrella network and what the best strategy is to move forward with each of them.
Thank you so much, Ben. I really appreciate your time today. I learned a ton as always. So really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this episode, I strongly recommend you, definitely share it with your friends on social or write a review for us. That would help other doctors like you find this episode. I also want to encourage all of you to check out our resources. Go to Ben's website, Veritas Dental Resources. And the way to check out our website is, go to insuranceuntangled.com. So till we meet again, have a wonderful week ahead. This is Naren, your co-host.